poof, where'd they go? It's like they vanished into thin air. Ever heard of someone being erased from history? Not literally, of course. But imagine being so thoroughly removed that it's as if you never existed at all. We're talking about powerful people making others disappear. No trace, no mention, like they never existed. Spooky, right? This wasn't just a rare occurrence, it was a calculated move to maintain power and control. The Soviets were masters of this dark art. They called it Damnatio Memoriae. This term, borrowed from ancient Rome, means the condemnation of memory. It was a way to ensure that those who fell out of favor were not just punished, but erased from the collective memory. And trust us, you didn't want to be on the receiving end of that. Being erased meant losing your identity, your achievements, and your very existence in the eyes of history. Imagine this. You're looking at a photo, a sea of faces cheering for their leader. Each face represents a life, a story, a presence in history. Then, one day that photo changes. One face is gone, completely erased. It's as if that person never existed. Their contributions, their presence, all wiped away. Did you imagine it? Was that person ever really there? This is the power of Damnatio Memoriae. It makes you question your own memory and the reality of the past. That's the unsettling feeling Damnatio Memoriae creates. It's a chilling reminder of how history can be manipulated, how the truth can be obscured. Let's dive into this historical mystery. We'll explore how and why the Soviets perfected this dark art and what it meant for those who were erased. Join us as we uncover the secrets behind the vanished faces of history. A history lesson, comrades. Damnatio Memoriae is Latin. Fancy, right? But what does it really mean? Let's dive into this fascinating concept that has shaped history in more ways than one. Damnatio Memoriae translates to condemnation of memory. It's a practice that dates back to ancient times, where the goal was to erase someone from history entirely. Imagine ancient Rome, a civilization known for its grandeur and power. When a ruler or public figure fell out of favor, they didn't just lose their job, they were erased from history. Take a bad emperor, for instance. Once he was deemed unworthy, his statues were torn down. His name was scratched off buildings, and any record of his existence was systematically destroyed. The process was thorough, statues defaced, inscriptions obliterated, and any mention of the person removed from official records. It was as if they had never existed. Poof, gone. The goal was simple yet brutal: make everyone forget they ever existed. It was a way to rewrite history, to control the narrative, and to ensure that the condemned person's influence was completely nullified. But this practice wasn't unique to the Romans. Throughout history, various cultures and civilizations have employed similar tactics to control memory and manipulate the past. From medieval manuscripts to ancient Chinese scrolls, the erasure of individuals from history has been a common theme. It was a way to maintain power and control over the narrative. Fast forward to the 20th century, and the Soviet Union takes center stage. They took the concept of Damnatio Memoriae to new heights, using it as a tool of political repression. The Soviets perfected the art of erasing individuals from history. Through political purges, altered photographs, and propaganda, they ensured that those who fell out of favor were not just removed from power, but from memory itself. It was a terrifyingly effective way to control the past and shape the future. The Soviet Union was built on propaganda. It was the lifeblood of the regime, a tool to shape minds and control the masses. From the moment Lenin took power, the narrative was carefully crafted to present a utopian vision of the future, one where the state was the ultimate benefactor. Control the narrative, control the people. Simple, right? The state used every medium available, posters, films, speeches, to instill a sense of unity and purpose. The message was clear. The Soviet Union was a paradise on earth, and any dissent was a threat to this paradise. Except when someone became an enemy of the state. The moment you were labeled a dissenter, the paradise turned into a nightmare. Arrests were swift, trials were a mere formality, and the sentences were harsh. The state had no mercy for those who dared to question its authority. Then they weren't just killed, they were unpersoned. The state went to great lengths to erase any trace of their existence. It wasn't enough to silence them. They had to be completely obliterated from history. Their names were removed from records, their photos doctored, their very existence denied. It was as if they had never been born. The state rewrote history to suit its needs, and those who fell out of favor simply vanished. It was Orwellian before Orwell even thought of it. The concept of erasing people from existence was a chilling precursor to the dystopian world Orwell would later describe in 1984. The Soviet Union perfected the art of surveillance and control long before it became a literary trope. Imagine being declared an enemy of the people. Overnight, your life would be turned upside down. You'd be arrested, interrogated, and likely tortured until you confessed to crimes you didn't commit. The state needed confessions to justify its actions, and it would stop at nothing to get them. Your friends and family are forced to denounce you. The state didn't just target individuals, it went after their entire social circle. Friends, family, colleagues, everyone was pressured to turn against you. Public denunciations were common, and refusing to participate could make you the next target. Your photos are removed from albums. The state wanted to erase all evidence of your existence. Family albums were edited, photos were burned, and any mention of you was forbidden. It was a systematic effort to make you disappear. Your name is never spoken again. The state ensured that you were forgotten. Official records were altered, documents were censored, and your name was erased from history. It was as if you had never existed. You become a ghost, a whisper in the wind. The state succeeded in making you a non-entity. You were a cautionary tale, a reminder of what could happen to those who dared to defy the regime. Your life was reduced to a mere whisper, lost in the winds of history. That was the reality for many under Stalin's regime. The purges were a dark chapter in Soviet history, a time when fear and paranoia ruled, millions were affected, and the scars of that era are still felt today. It was a time when the state had absolute power and no one was safe. Leon Trotsky, ever heard of him? He was Lenin's right-hand man, a key figure in the Bolshevik Revolution. But after Lenin's death, Stalin saw him as a threat. Trotsky was exiled, then assassinated in Mexico. But Stalin wasn't done. He wanted Trotsky erased from history. Photos were altered, books were rewritten. Trotsky became the ultimate unperson. This wasn't just about one man. It was about sending a message: cross Stalin, and you cease to exist. Not just physically, but in the memories of your countrymen. Airbrushed out of history when photos became lies. Photography was a powerful tool in Soviet propaganda, but it was also easily manipulated. Unwanted individuals were airbrushed out of photos, sometimes clumsily, sometimes with surprising skill. It was like a macabre game of Where's Waldo, except the stakes were much higher. These doctored photos weren't just for show. They were used in textbooks, newspapers, official documents. The goal was to rewrite reality itself, to create a version of history where enemies of the state never existed, and for a while it worked. The consequences of disappearing: fear and silence. Damnatio Memoriae wasn't just about erasing the past, it was about controlling the present. The fear of disappearing kept people silent. Who would speak out against the regime if it meant risking your own existence? This culture of fear had a chilling effect on Soviet society. People were afraid to trust each other, afraid to speak their minds. The very act of remembering became an act of rebellion. And silence, as they say, is golden. Or in this case, blood-chillingly effective. Why erase them? The power of controlling the narrative. Why go through all this trouble? Why not just kill your enemies and be done with it? Because Damnatio Memoriae was about more than just death. It was about power. The power to control the past, the present, and ultimately the future. By erasing people from history, the Soviets were trying to control the narrative. They wanted to create a version of reality where they were always the heroes, always in the right. And anyone who challenged that narrative simply ceased to exist. Uncovering the truth. The fight against forgetting. The fall of the Soviet Union in 1991 brought a wave of revelations. Archives were opened, secrets revealed. The true extent of Damnatio Memoriae became horrifyingly clear. But with it came a chance to set the record straight. Historians and researchers have been working tirelessly to uncover the truth about the disappeared. They're piecing together fragmented lives, restoring names to the forgotten. It's a long and difficult process, but a necessary one. Damnatio Memoriae today, still relevant sadly. You might think Damnatio Memoriae is a relic of the past. Sadly, you'd be wrong. Attempts to erase history and silence dissent are still happening today. From toppled statues to censored textbooks, the fight for memory continues. It's a reminder that the past is never truly gone, and that the fight to preserve it, to learn from it, is more important than ever. Because those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it, right? Thanks for reading. Don't be a stranger, unless you're Stalin. So there you have it. A crash course in Damnatio Memoriae, the Soviet art of making people disappear. We hope you found it enlightening, if not a little terrifying. Remember, history is written by the victors, but it's up to all of us to make sure it's accurate. Want to learn more? Get Googling, comrade. This is just the tip of the iceberg, folks. There's a whole world of fascinating and disturbing information out there about Damnatio Memoriae and Soviet history. So get out there and explore. Just, maybe don't search for Stalin while connected to a public Wi-Fi. You never know who's watching.